Welcome to the Phil Steele Plus tour for January the 19th. Up for you today, I've got an NFL selection for you. The NFL plays 4-1, a loss last week. So 4-1 now over the last 5 NFL selections. As you know, I'm buried in college football. Rarely look at the NFL, but I think we got a good play here for you, and I'll have it for you in just one moment. Quick note for you. Everybody always wondering what I'm working on. We're still working on the first write-throughs for the magazine. We're almost done with those. They go in a 3 write-through process. The second write-through is when spring starts. We get the rosters from the teams. And then the third write-through is after I talk to the head coaches. Last year I talked to 120 of the 133 head coaches and spend about an hour with each one going over the team. But right now I'm writing the miscellaneous articles as well for the magazine. Those are almost all done. And I'm finalizing the power ratings. I'm going to take you behind the curtain a little bit here and show you how we do the average game grades. And here we're taking a look at a team like, let's see, we had Syracuse. Yeah, let's take a look at Syracuse, for example. Over here, what I'm doing is I'm finalizing the power ratings for each team. This gives me different ways of looking at the team during the year. I put my adjustment in here, and this gives me the final grade for each team. And this is all numbers, and of course I'm a numbers guy. During the season, this is how the average game grade comes out. What you do is you take a look at the opponent. It has nothing to do with Syracuse. There's no beginning power rating. If you take a look, Syracuse's best rushing game of the year, grade-wise, was here against Pitt. They ran for 382 yards against Pitt's defense. That graded at 26.5. This was the rest of the grade across the board for that game, and it was their best game one of their best games of the year at 112.97. You look at the bowl game against USF where they got shut out 45-0. They only earned them an average game grade of 63.42, 6.5 rushing, 6 air, and it goes across the board. But what it basically does, it takes the yards that you had or the points versus the opponent's rating, and that's over here to the right. I can't show you everything. But it takes into account the strength of the opponent played, where the game was played, if it was on the road or at home, and then, of course, the yards that you had. And that determines what each of these numbers is. Add it all together, that gets your average game grade. So right now I'm finalizing the final power ratings for each team for the year. You take a look at a team like Boston College. Their best game of the year was actually the bowl game against SMU, where they won 23-14. They had 365 yards offense. You could see here that was their best rushing performance of the year, 20.1, 262. Even though they ran for 308 against Georgia Tech, it wasn't as good a number as it was for SMU's 262. SMU had a better run defense. So that's all taken into the formula on this. Just thought I'd give you a brief look at that. And then one more thing before I get to the game. And that is, I haven't showed you an ad or anything for a long time. It's been probably a month. I do want to remind you, it's wintertime, yes, but the VIP, super VIP deal is here right now. You get only not one college football preview magazine. You get 2 college football preview magazines shipped out as soon as they come off the press. Learfield does a great job doing that. Kirk at Learfield does a great job doing that. As soon as they're coming off the press, he's shipping them out in the mail. You get the digital version of the magazine, and the digital was available 2 days after we uploaded it to the magazine. Now, the only people that get the digital version for the first 3 weeks are the VIP members. And you can be a VIP member, you can be a super VIP member. You have access to the digital for 3 weeks when no one else in the country does. You get Phil Steele Plus through the Super Bowl this year, Phil Steele Plus next year, a $99 value, which is a great deal. First 4 issues inside the press box, free shipping, everything. Now here the bowl guide, of course, is gone, so forget that, but it's over a $300 value, just $69.95. So if you want to do that, just go to the store on philsteele.com and pick that up. The game we're going to look at is Detroit against Tampa Bay. This shows you what the NFL team page looks like as far as picking it. Here we're going to put Tampa Bay over here on the left and Detroit on the right. But we're going to take a look at some of the internal factors first, and we'll go to the Phil Steele Plus menu for that. It's taking a second there. We're going to click on NFL information, and we'll start with strength of wins, pain of losses. And when we look at Detroit against Philadelphia, how this works is if you beat a team, you get credit for every win that team has. So Detroit's beaten teams that have won 82 games this year. Tampa Bay, meanwhile, has beaten teams that have won 56 games this year. That's quite a difference. You look at them losing. If you lose to a team, you get credit for every loss that team has. And then here is the overall compilation. So Detroit record, they've beaten teams that have won 82 games. They've lost to teams that have lost to 30. They're the fourth best team right now in the NFL record-wise. And then Tampa Bay's down here at 56 and 47, about 54%. So that clearly says take Detroit at home. We'll take a look at the YPG, how you do YPG versus your opponents. In other words, if a team is averaging 350 yards per game in all their games and you hold them to 300, that's plus 50 for you. So Detroit is on the season plus 63 overall, mostly on the offense. They're plus 69.6. Tampa Bay, meanwhile, is minus 21.9. That's a pretty large difference. So Detroit clearly the better team, clearly at home for this one. I like the fact that they're at home for a second straight week. The playoff crowd was fantastic last week, should be fantastic again this week. Tampa, meanwhile, won a home game. Now they've got to travel to Detroit, so it's a different animal for them. As opposed to having the crowd behind them, then have to play into the crowd. And then the other thing I want to look at, and when you look at Detroit, they play in a tougher division, as you know. I'm not going to put the standings up here, but the Tampa Bay's division had two teams, one game above 500, everybody else below. I think there were 33% non-conference games this year, non-division games. And Detroit, meanwhile, plays in a tougher division. But when you look at it, Detroit versus non-division teams, plus 65 yards per game. Tampa, when they step outside the division, minus 36 yards per game. And that includes this plus 150 they had last week against the Philadelphia Eagles at home. The Eagles, of course, were a team that came in on a super slump, going 1-5 their last 6 games, and Tampa Bay took care of business with them. Now they're taking on a much better team, at least in current form, in the Detroit Lions. So you look at their non-division games, minus 36, they're plus 65. Another reason to like the Detroit Lions here. So you've got the home team. You're laying only 6.5. They probably should be laying over a touchdown in this one. So 4-1 for the last 5 plays. We're going to take the Detroit Lions minus 6.5 over Tampa Bay. I should have another one, Phil Steele Plus tape up for you next week for the championship games or of the conferences. Maybe it'll be a side, maybe it'll be a total. We should have something up here for you, though. And I'd like to take this time to thank you for taking the Phil Steele Plus tour with me today. Have yourself a great weekend. It's rather snowy here in Cleveland. Hopefully it's not as snowy wherever you are right now.